That's a lot, especially for a 14, 15-year-old to deal with. Hello, everybody. Welcome back to Dayna of all trades. Today, I have a Me Too story to share. It's my Me Too story. And disclaimer, it might be a little lengthy and it might be a little uncomfortable, but maybe then that's why you should listen. I have to say, just getting to a point to where I could talk about this, and clearly I still can't talk about it, has been a very long journey. Sexual harassment, like, it happens so often, whether it's a teacher in high school, a teacher in college, a boyfriend that, forced me into doing things that I didn't want to do or wasn't ready to do at the time, a random person, yelling at me on the street or at the gas station, or even a family member that took advantage of me when I was only 14. My Me Too story started when I had just moved from living with my mom to living with my dad. I went from living with a mother that was a druggy stripper to living with a father who was an alcoholic at the time. And I spent a lot of time at an uncle's house. It was a safe place, a place where it had routine. They had shampoo and conditioner in their showers. They sat down for dinner every night. They had conversations and took interest in me. And it was truly like a family that I never had. But it all came at a cost. The first night anything happened, I was sleeping on the couch, and in the middle of the night, randomly, I was woken up to somebody kissing me. And it was my uncle. I remember going to school the next day and being in class and convincing myself that that was a dream. I vividly remember just being like, that's such a weird dream and that's so gross. Why did I dream about my uncle that way? That's really weird, really uncomfortable. Then it just escalated from there. Many nights I would sleep on the couch and I would wake up to him kissing me or touching me or making me touch him. And then it escalated all the way up until him performing oral sex on me. And I was only 14 years old. This was my first experience. My first sexual experience, real sexual experience. I've kissed boys before that, but nothing ever that serious. Even though these terrible things happened at night, it still seemed better than the other options that I had. I told my brother. I told my best friend at the time. I had to see it through someone else's eyes to finally realize how fucked up it was. I knew that it wasn't right, and I knew that I didn't like it, but I also liked attention, and I liked the love. It felt like a form of love. That's a lot. Especially for a 14, 15-year-old to deal with. I didn't realize how affected I was by my past until I started reflecting on it as an adult. Fast forward to almost 10 years later, and I get a message on Facebook saying that he heard Uncle P was doing certain things to his daughter. And if I had any insight, he knew that I was close to that family at some point and just wanted perspective, wanted to look out for my little cousin. And immediately everything that he said to me was exactly what happened to me. He said he would come in the middle of the night, he would brush his teeth, and then he would wake her up by kissing her, and he would do all these things, and he would make sure that he wouldn't penetrate because he knows that that's like a way that like the doctors and the police could verify that, harm was being done. And from the second that I found this out, it just opened the floodgates. It was all this baggage that I had been suppressing for 10 years. Now I'm mildly an adult and I had to deal with it. It affected my life in more ways than I even understood. It made me have the most unhealthy relationship with sex, the worst self-esteem. It just fucked me up royally. And then when I got into the relationship with my husband, it messed with our lives so much. It made me never be able to be intimate with someone unless it was 100% on my terms, because otherwise it felt like I was being taken advantage of. And so I finally went to counseling and just worked through all of that. Like, it was 1 year of intense sessions and crying and screaming and being angry and hating myself for suppressing it so long, hating myself for putting my husband through so much, hating myself for not saying something when I was younger, because maybe then my baby cousin wouldn't have been in harm's way. So after going through therapy, after working through all the emotions and blaming myself and the feeling of shame, after working through all of that, it finally concluded with me writing him a letter. And I just was 100% honest with exactly how I felt. I told him what a monster he was, how unfair it was to take advantage of someone that was so young and so naive and someone that trusted him. I told him how much he hurt me, how much he hurt my family, how much he hurt my perspective of the world. And I handed it to him in person. That was the end of it. He never responded. He never apologized. He never took ownership. I knew that this man was never going to give me the conclusion or resolution that I wanted. And so I decided I would just move on. I would create my own. I would no longer let him have so much power over my life. One of the first things I did was started telling my story. And I started with my dad. I told my whole family. I told all my cousins, all my aunts, all my friends, every person I met, a person on the street. I don't care. I'm going to tell my story because I need people to know that they're not alone. I need people to know that it's not their fault. I need people to know it's not okay. I need people to know that if it happens to them, we have to talk about it so we can stop it from continuing. As soon as I started telling my story, I felt liberated. I felt like I was taking this really, really ugly past and making something good out of it. And unfortunately, so many people that I told had similar stories. Boy cousins, girl cousins, friends. It didn't matter. Everybody has a story. The point here is that it happens all the time and it shouldn't. Oftentimes it's someone close to you. And it shouldn't. When it does happen, people blame themselves, and they shouldn't. So I want to talk about it. If you want to talk about it, I'm here. Let's talk. It's not something that we should be ashamed of if it's happening to us. And if anything, by talking about it, maybe we can help it from happening to someone else. So I'm happy to say, even though it doesn't look like it today, I'm on the other side. I feel good. And I found peace. I have peace.